Noah, who built the ark and faced the great flood, became a farmer and tended a vineyard. One day, Noah drank too much wine and became completely drunk. Overcome by heat and unable to bear it, he stripped off all his clothes and fell asleep naked in his tent. Ham saw his father sleeping naked in the tent and told his two brothers about it. Hearing this, Shem and Japheth took a garment, walked in backward, and covered their father's body. The two sons did not look at their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his drunkenness and learned what had happened, he harshly rebuked Ham and cursed him to become a slave to his brothers. Meanwhile, he bestowed great blessings on Shem and Japheth, granting them dominion over Ham. Ham's descendants became the Canaanites, spread from Egypt across the Arabian Peninsula. Canaan is present-day Palestine. Shem's descendants became the Semites, including the Jews, Armenians, Phoenicians, Arabs, and Assyrians. The Semitic Jews, during the eras of King Saul, King David, and King Solomon, and later in the 20th century after World War II, seized the land of Canaan. Thus, Noah's curse was fulfilled. Japheth, on the other hand, became the ancestor of the Indo-European peoples, spread from the Aegean Sea to the Caspian Sea. In this way, the roots of the Israel-Palestine conflict trace back to the earliest days of humanity, revealing the strength of their determination. After Cain killed Abel, as people multiplied on the earth, wickedness and evil deeds continued to spread. The Great Flood was what cleansed this corruption. Only Noah's family, who believed in God's word and took refuge in the ark, survived the flood. After the flood, the descendants of Noah's 3 sons gradually increased, scattering across the Middle East, forming their own nations and living separately. At that time, people spoke a single language. Agriculture and commerce flourished, and cities and civilizations developed. As civilization advanced, people's faith drifted further from the righteous faith of their ancestor Noah. With each passing generation, their devotion weakened. Consequently, they began to see success not as God's grace but as the result of their own talents and efforts. Filled with pride, they believed that with sufficient planning, they could achieve anything without relying on God. This arrogance was symbolized by the construction of a city. They planned to build a massive tower in the city, reaching the heavens, to make a name for themselves without depending on God. Driven by ambition to gain fame and honor, they became blind to human limitations. In the beginning of creation, humans were in harmony with God. But Adam's rebellion destroyed that harmony, separating God and humanity. This separation was meant to be reconciled through the Messiah promised by God. Attempting to achieve success solely through human power, without borrowing God's strength, would permanently fix the separation between God and humanity, an act God would not permit. God had already promised Noah, when he destroyed the people and animals on the earth, that he would not bring such a flood again. Therefore, to curb their arrogance, he confused their common language. With their language confounded, people asserted their own interests and refused to compromise. They even fought when their views clashed. As a result, they abandoned the construction of the tall tower in the city and scattered across the land. This city was called Babylon. The name Tower of Babel has 2 meanings. First, Babel means confusion, and second, the event took place in Babylon. Babylon lies beside the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, approximately 50 kilometers southwest of modern-day Baghdad, the capital of Iraq. What does the confusion of language mean? It does not mean that someone speaking German suddenly starts speaking Chinese or Vietnamese, rendering communication incoherent. Rather, it signifies that even while using the same language, people's opinions and ideologies became divided, preventing them from working together. This can be seen in international politics or domestic conflicts between ruling and opposition parties over governance. Making a name for oneself, boasting of power, advancing the economy, and unifying the world are all noble pursuits. Heroes of the past, such as Alexander the Great of Greece and Napoleon of France, attempted world unification but ultimately failed. According to the Bible, their failures stemmed from not following God's will or relying on Him. Around 1776, when the United States sought independence from British colonial rule and drafted the Declaration of Independence, Benjamin Franklin reportedly told the delegates, "We cannot decide such a significant matter without praying to God. We must begin the assembly with prayer." From this came the rights to liberty, equality, and the pursuit of happiness. The lofty Declaration of Independence asserts that these are inalienable rights inherent to all people. Most people might assume that America's strength over other nations lies in its world-leading science and technology, but that is a superficial understanding. The true strength upholding America is its strong faith in following God's word. From this, we can see that America is fundamentally a religious nation.